So, the rumors were trusted. You are the human legend. The alien queen exclaimed, and a weak Captain Sarah Chen was drinking her morning coffee when the impossible happened. The communication panel on her desk started beeping with a pattern she had never heard before. After 15 years of deep space missions, Sarah knew every standard signal in the galaxy. This was something new. Computer, identified incoming transmission, she said, setting down her cup. Unknown signal pattern detected. Origin, Outer Rim Sector 7 Alpha. Species, unidentified, the computer replied in its calm voice. Sarah's heart started beating faster. First contact protocols were clear. Any new alien species required immediate attention. From Earth Command, she had never been the first human to meet a new species before. Accept the transmission, she ordered. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a being unlike anything in the galactic database. The alien appeared to be made of flowing light and crystal formations. Its voice was musical, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Greetings, human captain, the being said. I am Ambassador Velith of the Zephyrian Empire. Our queen has sent me with an urgent request. We need the human legend to come to our world immediately. Sarah blinked in confusion. I'm sorry, what legend are you talking about? The stories of your species are known throughout the outer systems, Velith explained. Humans who survive where others cannot. Humans who solve problems that seem impossible. Our queen believes only the human legend can save our dying world. I think there's been a mistake, Sarah said slowly. I'm just a regular ship captain. I'm not any kind of legend. The crystal being's light pulsed brighter. Are you not Captain Sarah Chen? Of the Earth vessel Endurance? The one who survived the Proxima Station disaster? The one who found water on the dead world of Kepler 440b? Sarah felt her cheeks grow warm. Those incidents had been reported throughout human space, but she never thought aliens were paying attention to human news feeds. Those were just doing my job, she said. Any captain would have done the same thing. That is exactly what makes humans legendary, Velith replied. You believe. The impossible is simply part of your work. Will you come? Our queen awaits your answer. Sarah looked around her small ship. She was currently between missions, carrying supplies to a mining colony that could wait another week. Earth Command always encouraged diplomatic contact with new species, and something in the alien's voice suggested real desperation. Send me the coordinates, she decided. I'll need to inform Earth Command first. Time is precious. Captain Chen, our star grows dimmer each day, but we understand your customs. We will wait. The transmission ended, leaving Sarah staring at empty space. She immediately sent a priority message to Earth Command, explaining the situation. Within hours, she received her orders. Proceed with caution, maintain diplomatic protocols, and report every detail. 3 days later, Sarah's ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zephyrian system. What she saw took her breath away. The star in the center was clearly sick. Instead of burning bright white or yellow like a healthy star, it glowed with a weak, reddish light. Around it orbited 7 planets, but only one showed signs of life, a world that sparkled like a jewel even from this distance. To Captain Chen, welcome to Zephyros Prime, came Velith's voice over the communication system. Please follow the beacon to our capital city. As Sarah's ship approached the planet, she could see why it sparkled. The entire surface was covered in crystal formations that caught and reflected light in millions of directions. Cities grew like coral reefs between towering crystal mountains. Bioluminescent plants created rivers of soft blue and green light. Across the landscape, it's beautiful, Sarah whispered to herself. Her ship landed in a clearing surrounded by what looked like living crystal trees. As she stepped outside in her environmental suit, dozens of Zephyrian beings gathered around her landing site. They were all made of the same flowing light and crystal as Velith, but each one was unique, some tall and thin like ice sculptures, others round and glowing like small suns. They whispered to each other in their musical language, and Sarah could hear the word human repeated over and over. Some pointed at her with what seemed like wonder. Others backed away as if they were afraid. Do not worry, Velith appeared beside her ship. They have never seen a human before. The legends speak of your species, but seeing you in person is different. What exactly do these legends say? Sarah asked as they walked through the crystal forest toward the city. That humans are the species that burns stars, Velith explained. That you can live anywhere, in the cold of space, in the heat of desert worlds, even in the crushing depths of ocean planets. That when others give up, humans find a way forward. Sarah shook her head. We're not that special. We just use technology and work together to solve problems. Yes, Velith said, his light pulsing with what might have been amusement. That is exactly what makes you special. The city was even more amazing up close. Buildings grew from the ground like crystal flowers, their walls transparent and filled with swirling light. Zephyrian citizens moved through the streets like gentle ghosts, their bodies flowing and changing shape as they walked. In the center of the city stood a palace that reached toward the weak sun, like a prayer made of light and stone. As they approached, Sarah could feel a sense of age and wisdom radiating from the structure. Our queen waits inside, Velith said. She has ruled for 3,000 of your years. She remembers when our star burned bright and strong. They entered through doors that dissolved at their approach, reforming behind them like water becoming ice. The throne room was vast and beautiful, filled with the soft singing of crystal formations that responded to every sound dot at the far end. On a throne made of pure starlight sat the queen. She was larger than the other Zephyrians, her form more stable and defined. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of centuries and the desperate hope of a dying world. So, Queen Lyroleth said, rising from her throne as Sarah approached, the rumors were trusted. You are the human legend. Sarah looked up at the ancient queen, feeling the weight of an entire civilization's hope resting on her shoulders. She had no idea what they expected her to do, but she knew one thing for certain. She couldn't let them down. That was what humans did. They helped, even when they didn't know how. Sarah stood before Queen Lyroleth, feeling very small in the vast crystal throne room. The queen's ancient eyes seemed to look right through her, searching for something Sarah wasn't sure she possessed. Your Majesty, Sarah began carefully, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I'm just a ship captain. I'm not sure what legend you're referring to. The queen's form shimmered, and suddenly the air around them filled with images, holographic memories that danced in the crystal light. Sarah saw human ships landing on hostile worlds, human explorers walking on planets where the air was poison, human engineers building cities in the depths of space. These are the stories that reach us from across the galaxy, Queen Lyroleth said, her voice echoing through the chamber. The species that refuses to die. The beings who look at impossible situations and say we will find a way. Sarah watched the images with growing amazement. She recognized some of the scenes, the Martian colonies, the underwater cities of Europa, the mining stations built inside asteroids. To her, these were just examples of human determination and technology working together. But seeing them through alien eyes, she began to understand how they might seem legendary. We Zephyrians are beings of pure energy, the queen continued. We have existed for millions of years, but we have always been limited by what our nature allows. We cannot touch physical matter directly. We cannot survive in harsh environments. We cannot adapt as you do. The queen gestured, and the images changed to show the Zephyrian homeworld as it once was. The star burned bright and golden, and the crystal cities sparkled like diamonds in brilliant sunlight. The Zephyrians themselves appeared more vibrant, their light forms dancing with joy and energy. This is how our world looked 100 years ago. The queen said sadly, our star gave us life and power. We thought it would burn forever. The scene shifted, and Sarah gasped. The same world now looked dim and cold. The crystal cities still stood, but their light was fading. The Zephyrians moved slowly, their forms flickering like dying candles. What happened? Sarah asked, though she dreaded the answer. Something is killing our star from within, Queen Lyroleth replied. Our greatest scientists have studied it for decades. They say there is an ancient device buried deep in the star's core, a weapon from a civilization that died long before we were born. The The Queen waved her hand, and new images appeared. Sarah saw technical diagrams that hurt her head to look at, complex mathematical formulas, and energy patterns that seemed to twist through dimensions she couldn't understand. The device feeds on stellar energy, the Queen explained. It was designed to destroy stars and harvest their power. We do not know why it was placed in our sun, but it grows stronger each day. Soon, our star will collapse completely. Sarah studied the diagrams, trying to understand. What have your scientists tried? Everything within our power, the Queen said. We sent energy probes into the star, but they were absorbed by the device. We tried to disrupt it with gravitational waves, but it adapted to our attacks. We even attempted to move our entire civilization to another system, but the device's influence has made us too weak to survive the journey. The images faded, leaving Sarah alone with the desperate Queen in the dimly lit throne room. Why do you think humans can help when your advanced technology has failed? Sarah asked. Queen Lyrolev's form brightened slightly. Because you are not, like us, Captain Chen. We think in terms of energy and mathematical perfection. You think with your hands and your tools and your stubborn refusal to accept defeat. The Queen moved closer, and Sarah could feel the ancient alien's desperation like heat from a dying fire. Our legends tell of humans who survived when their ship's life support failed. By building new systems from spare parts, the Queen continued. Humans who found water on dead worlds by digging deeper than anyone thought possible. Humans who escaped black holes by using the gravity itself as a slingshot. Sarah felt her cheeks grow warm. Those stories were all true, but they made human achievements sound more impressive than they really were. We just used whatever tools we have available, Sarah said. We try different approaches until something works. Yes, the Queen exclaimed, her light flaring brighter. That is exactly what we need. We have been trying to solve this problem the same way for 100 years. We need someone who thinks differently. Sarah looked around the beautiful crystal palace, thinking about the millions of Zephyrians who depended on their dying star. She thought about her own people back on Earth, who had never turned away from someone asking for help. I'll need to see the data, she said finally, all of it. And I'll need to contact my ship's computer to run some calculations. Of course. Queen Lyrolev said, relief evident in her voice. Ambassador Velith will provide you with everything we know. As, if summoned by his name, Velith appeared in the doorway. Captain Chen, we have prepared quarters for you in the palace. Our finest scientists are waiting to share their research. Sarah nodded, then looked back at the Queen. Your Majesty, I need you to understand something. I can't promise I'll be able to save your star. This is far beyond anything humans have attempted before. Queen Lyrolev's ancient eyes seemed to smile. Captain Chen, do you know what the final line of every human legend says? Sarah shook her head. They tried anyway, the Queen said softly. That is all we ask. That you try when everyone else has given up. Sarah felt a familiar weight settle on her shoulders, the responsibility that came with being human in a galaxy full of beings who look to her species for hope. Then I'll try, she said simply as Velith led her from the throne room. Sarah caught a glimpse of the dying star through a crystal window. It looked so weak and small compared to Earth's bright sun. But somewhere deep in its core was an ancient weapon that had stumped an entire civilization of energy beings. Sarah smiled grimly. Maybe it was time to show that weapon what happened when it met human stubbornness. Sarah spent the next 3 days buried in Zephyrian research data, and the more she learned, the more impossible the situation seemed. The ancient weapon deep inside the star was like nothing humans had ever encountered. It's not just feeding on the star's energy, she explained to her gathered team in the crystal conference room. It's converting the star's matter into some kind of dark energy that gets transmitted somewhere else in the galaxy. Dr. Martinez, her chief engineer, shook his head as he studied the holographic displays. The temperatures at the star's core are over 15 million degrees Celsius. Even our best heat shields would melt in seconds, and the radiation levels would kill any human instantly, added Dr. Kim, the mission's medical officer. We're talking about exposure that's 1,000,000 times beyond lethal limits. Sarah looked around the table at her small crew. She had brought only 5 people on this diplomatic mission, never imagining they would need to solve the greatest engineering challenge in galactic history. Professor Zeph, the lead Zephyrian scientist, flickered into the room. His crystalline form looked dimmer than when Sarah had first met him, a sign of his species' weakening condition. Have you found a solution, Captain Chen? He asked hopefully. Sarah sighed. Professor, your people have tried everything that makes scientific sense: energy blasts, gravitational manipulation, quantum disruption fields. The weapon has adapted to all of them. Yes, Professor Zeth said sadly. It learns from our attacks and becomes stronger. This is why we believe only a completely different approach might succeed. Sarah's engineer, Dr. Martinez, leaned forward. Captain, maybe we're thinking about this wrong. The Zephyrians are beings of pure energy, so they interact with everything through energy fields and mathematical formulas. What are you suggesting? Sarah asked. What if we tried the most basic, primitive approach possible? Martinez continued. What if we went in there with simple mechanical tools and just took the weapon apart piece by piece? The room fell silent. Professor Zeth's form flickered with what Sarah had learned was the Zephyrian equivalent of shock. You cannot be serious, the alien scientist said. No organic being could survive inside a star. The very idea is impossible. Dr. Kim pulled up her medical scanner data. Actually, the human body is more radiation resistant than most species realize. And if we could design the right protective equipment, even if we could survive the radiation, Dr. Martinez interrupted. The heat would vaporize any ship before we got within 1,000,000 kilometers of the core. Sarah stared at the holographic image of the dying star, an idea forming in her mind. It was crazy, dangerous, and completely against every safety protocol in the human space fleet manual. What if we didn't try to survive it? She said slowly. Everyone turned to look at her. Explain, Dr. Martinez said carefully. Sarah stood up and began pacing around the crystal table. The Zephyrians think in terms of permanent solutions and perfect protection. But humans, we're used to working in impossible conditions for short periods of time. She pointed to the star's image. We don't need to survive inside the star indefinitely. We just need to survive long enough to reach the weapon and dismantle it. Professor Zeth's form brightened with interest. How long would such a mission require? Sarah looked at her engineer. Martinez, if we stripped down my ship to just life support and engines, added every heat shield we could manufacture, how long could we survive inside the star's corona? Dr. Martinez ran calculations on his portable computer. Maybe 20 minutes. Before the ship's hull started to fail. 30 minutes maximum. And how long to physically dismantle an ancient weapon using basic tools? If we knew exactly what we were looking for and had the right equipment ready. Maybe 15 minutes for a small device. Sarah felt her heart start beating faster. Professor Zeth, how large is the weapon? The Zephyrian scientist displayed a new hologram. Our energy scans suggested it is approximately the size of your ship's shuttle bay. But Captain Chen, surely you are not suggesting a manned mission into the star itself? Sarah finished. Using human tools and human stubbornness to do what energy beings cannot. The room erupted in protest from both humans and aliens. Captain, that's suicide. Dr. Kim exclaimed. The radiation exposure alone would kill everyone on board. Martinez added, no organic species has ever attempted such a thing, Professor Zeth said. His form pulsing with alarm. Sarah held up her hand for silence. Let me ask you something, Professor. In all your millions of years of existence, have the Zephyrians ever built anything designed to fail? The alien scientist looked confused. Of course not. We build for permanence and perfection. Exactly, Sarah said. Your tools are designed to last forever and work in any situation. But sometimes you need tools that are designed to work once, in one specific situation, even if they break in the process. She turned to her team. We build a ship that's designed to survive exactly 25 minutes inside a star. We don't worry about it being reusable. We don't worry about it being pretty. We just worry about it doing one job, getting us to that weapon and back out again. Dr. Martinez was already sketching designs on his tablet. We could use the Zephyrian crystal technology for heat absorption. Layer it with human ceramic tiles and metal alloys. The medical risks are still enormous. Dr. Kim warned. Yes, they are, Sarah agreed. But what's the alternative? Let an entire civilization die because we were too afraid to try something dangerous. Professor Zeth had been listening quietly. Now his form pulsed with something that looked like hope. This is why you are the human legend, he said softly. Other species see an impossible problem and accept defeat. Humans see an impossible problem and ask, what do we need to make it possible? Sarah looked around the room at her team. She could see the fear in their eyes, but also the determination that made humans famous across the galaxy. So, she said, who wants to help me build a ship that can fly into a star? One by one, her crew raised their hands, even Dr. Kim, despite her medical concerns. Nodded her agreement. This is completely insane, Martinez said with a grin. Let's do it. Outside the crystal windows, the dying star flickered weakly in the alien sky, unaware that a group of humans was about to attempt the impossible. Sarah gripped the controls of her modified ship as they approached the dying star's outer edge. Around her, warning alarms screamed constantly, radiation alerts, temperature warnings, and hull stress indicators all flashing red, heat shields. Holding steady, Dr. Martinez reported from the engineering station, sweat already beading on his forehead. External temperature is now 8,000 degrees and climbing. Through the reinforced crystal windows, Sarah could see the star's surface. Churning like an angry ocean of fire, solar flares danced across the burning landscape, each one containing enough energy to power Earth's cities for a year. Medical status report. Sarah called to Dr. Kim. Radiation levels are at the edge of dangerous, but still manageable. Kim replied, checking her instruments. The Zephyrian crystal lining is absorbing most of the harmful particles. Behind them, Professor Zeth's energy form flickered nervously. In his protective containment field, no Zephyrian had ever been this close to a star's surface before. Captain Chen, the alien scientist, said, his musical voice tight with worry. Our sensors show the weapon is still 3 million kilometers deeper. Are you certain your ship can survive the journey? Sarah checked her instruments. The outer hull temperature was now 15,000 degrees. On any normal day, this would be considered impossible. Today, it was just the beginning. We're not built to survive this, Sarah replied honestly. We're built to survive long enough. She pushed the ship deeper into the star's chromosphere, the layer where the real heat began. The crystal ceramic hull started glowing white-hot, and she could hear the metal supports groaning under the stress. Hull integrity at 80%, Martinez called out. The ceramic tiles are ablating as designed, but they're going faster than we calculated. How much faster? Sarah asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know the answer. At this rate, we'll have maybe 15 minutes inside the star instead of 25. Sarah felt her stomach drop, but kept her voice steady. Then we work faster, Kim. How are our life support systems? The cooling units are running at maximum power, Dr. Kim reported. Internal temperatures holding at 38 degrees Celsius. But it's climbing slowly. The ship shuddered as they passed through a solar flare. The lights flickered, and several warning alarms added their voices to the chaos. That's not good, Martinez muttered, checking his displays. The electromagnetic pulse damaged some of our secondary systems. Sarah pushed deeper into the star, following the navigation beacon that Professor Zeth's people had programmed into their computers. Around them, the star's interior grew brighter and hotter with each passing kilometer. There, Professor Zeth suddenly exclaimed, pointing at the main display. I can see it. Sarah looked at the screen and gasped. The ancient weapon was unlike anything she had imagined. It looked like a massive crystalline spider, its legs extending deep into the star's core. Dark energy pulsed along its limbs like corrupted blood, and where it touched the star's matter, the bright plasma turned black and cold. It's beautiful, Dr. Kim whispered, then shook her head. And terrifying. It's also bigger than we thought, Martinez added grimly. That thing is at least twice the size of our ship. Sarah studied the weapon structure. Looking for weak points? Professor Zeph, can you identify the main power source? The Zephyrian scientist's form brightened with concentration. The central hub appears to be the control mechanism. If you could sever the connections between the hub and the 8 primary arms. We can do that, Sarah said, more confidently than she felt. Martinez. Prep the plasma cutters and magnetic grapples. Kim, monitor our life signs and give me updates every 30 seconds. The ship's hull groaned louder as they approached the weapon. The temperature readings were now beyond what their instruments could measure. Hull integrity at 60%, Martinez reported. We're losing ceramic tiles faster than expected. Sarah positioned the ship next to the weapon's central hub. Up close, the ancient device was even more impressive and terrifying. It pulsed with malevolent energy, and she could feel its alien intelligence studying their ship. It knows we're here, Professor Zeph said, his voice filled with dread. The weapon is adapting, trying to drain our ship's power. Sarah felt the ship's engine stutter as the weapon's dark energy reached toward them. Not if I can help it. Martinez, deploy the cutting arms. 2 mechanical arms extended from the ship's hull, each one carrying a plasma cutter designed to slice through the toughest materials in the galaxy. Sarah maneuvered them toward the weapon's first connection point. The moment the plasma beam touched the ancient device, the star itself seemed to scream. Solar flares erupted around them, and the weapon's energy output doubled. It's fighting back. Kim shouted over the alarms. Radiation levels are spiking. First connection severed. Martinez reported. 7 more to go. Sarah moved to the second connection point. The weapon was definitely aware of their presence now. Dark energy tentacles lashed out at their ship, trying to drain their power and destroy their equipment. Hull integrity at 40%, Martinez called out. The plasma cutters are overheating, but they're still functional. Connection by connection, Sarah's team worked to dismantle the ancient weapon. Each severed link caused the star to brighten slightly, and the weapon's struggles grew more desperate. 5th connection down, Sarah announced, sweat streaming down her face despite the life support systems. 3 more to go. Hull integrity at 20%. Martinez warned. Captain, we need to finish this now. The 6th connection sparked and died under the plasma cutter's beam round them. The star began to sing, a deep, harmonic vibration that Sarah could feel in her bones. The star is healing itself, Professor Zeph said in wonder. Each connection you sever allows more natural energy to flow. 2 more. Sarah grunted, fighting to control the ship as the weapon's death throes sent shock waves through the stellar material. The 7th connection took longer to cut through. The weapon had reinforced it with stolen stellar energy, but human tools were designed to be stubborn, and eventually the ancient metal gave way. Last one. Sarah said, positioning the final cutting arm. This is for everyone counting on us. The final connection severed with a flash of light that temporarily blinded them all. The ancient weapon collapsed in on itself, its dark energy dissipating into the star's natural brightness round them. The dying star blazed back to life. The moment the ancient weapon died, everything changed. Sarah felt it first as a deep vibration through her ship's hull. Not the violent shaking of destruction, but something warmer and more alive. The star around them began to sing, a harmony of nuclear fusion that had been silenced for over a century. Hull temperature dropping rapidly. Dr. Martinez reported, his voice filled with amazement. External readings are down to 12,000 degrees and falling through the crystal windows. Sarah watched in wonder as the star's interior transformed. The dark, corrupted areas where the weapon had fed began to glow with healthy golden light. Solar plasma that had been cold and lifeless for decades now danced with renewed energy. Life support systems stabilizing, Dr. Kim added. Internal temperatures dropping back to normal ranges. Professor Zeph's energy form was pulsing so brightly that Sarah had to shield her eyes. Captain Chen, do you understand what you have accomplished? Our star has not burned this brightly in my lifetime. Sarah guided her damaged ship toward the star's surface, following the path they had taken inward. But now, instead of fighting against hostile solar storms, They rode currents of gentle stellar wind that seemed to guide them safely outward. "How much time do we have left?" Sarah asked Martinez. Her engineer checked his instruments and laughed. Actually laughed with relief, according to my calculations. "Our hull should have failed 3 minutes ago. But look at these readings." Sarah looked at the display and couldn't believe what she saw. Their ship's ceramic armor, which should have been completely destroyed, was actually regenerating. The star's renewed energy was somehow healing the damage they had taken. During their desperate mission, the star is grateful, Professor Zeth explained. "It recognizes that you saved its life. This is beyond our scientific understanding, but stellar entities are more aware than most species realize." As they broke through the star's outer corona and into open space, Sarah got her first clear view of the Zephyrian homeworld in over a week. What she saw took her breath away. The planet sparkled like a jewel, but now it blazed with light that rivaled the renewed star itself. The crystal cities that had been dim and fading were now brilliant beacons of joy and celebration, even from millions of kilometers away. Sarah could see the Zephyrians dancing in their streets. "Captain Chen," came Queen Lyroleth's voice over the communication system, and Sarah had never heard such happiness in an alien's tone. "Please return to the palace immediately. Our entire civilization wishes to honor you." The journey back to Zephyros Prime felt like a victory parade. Zephyrian ships appeared from all directions, not as an escort but as a celebration. They flew in complex patterns around Sarah's damaged vessel, their hulls glowing with messages of gratitude in the flowing Zephyrian script. When Sarah's ship landed at the Crystal Palace, she found thousands of Zephyrians waiting for her as she stepped out in her environmental suit, still stained with sweat and exhaustion from their impossible mission. The entire crowd fell silent with respect. Queen Lyroleth appeared before her, and Sarah could see that the ancient ruler's form was brighter and more solid than ever before. The renewed star had given new life to every Zephyrian on the planet. "Captain Sarah Chen," the queen announced, her voice carrying across the Crystal Plaza. "Today you have done more than save our civilization. You have shown the galaxy what it truly means to be human." The queen gestured, and a crown of pure starlight appeared above Sarah's head, not touching her, but hovering there like a blessing from the cosmos itself. "We name you Keeper of the Eternal Light," Queen Lyroleth declared. "You and all your species are welcome in Zephyrian space for as long as stars burn in the sky. Our worlds, our knowledge, our friendship, all are yours to share." Sarah felt tears running down her cheeks inside her helmet. "Your Majesty, we didn't do this for rewards. We did it because it was the right thing to do." "Yes," the queen said softly, "and that is exactly why you are legendary." As the celebration continued around them, Professor Zeth approached with a data crystal in his energy tendrils. "Captain Chen, we have prepared something for you to take back to Earth," he said. "A complete record of our civilization's history and scientific knowledge. We want your people to know that the Zephyrians will never forget what you have done." Sarah accepted the crystal, knowing it contained more scientific advancement than humanity had achieved in centuries of space exploration. "Professor, this is incredibly generous, but nothing." Professor Zeth interrupted gently. "Knowledge. Shared is knowledge multiplied. Your species gave us life itself. The least we can do is share what we have learned in our millions of years of existence." As Sarah prepared to leave Zephyros Prime, Queen Lyroleth took her aside for a private moment. "Captain Chen, there is something you should know," the queen said quietly. "Word of what you accomplished here is already spreading through the galactic communication networks. Other species are talking about the humans who flew into a star to save strangers." Sarah felt a familiar weight settling on her shoulders. "More requests for help, many more," the queen confirmed. "The Andromedans are facing a plague that their medicine cannot cure. The Silicon Lords have encountered a mathematical problem that threatens their digital existence. The Void Singers have lost their homeworld to a space-time anomaly, and they think humans can solve problems that advanced civilizations cannot." Queen Lyroleth's ancient eyes seemed to smile. "They think humans will try when everyone else has given up, and Captain Chen, after today, that belief is stronger than ever." Sarah looked up at the bright, healthy star that now warmed the Zephyrian world. A week ago, it had been dying, and saving it seemed impossible. Today, it burned with the light of hope itself. Then I guess we'd better not disappoint them, Sarah said, as her ship lifted off from the crystal world. Sarah received the first of many new messages from across the galaxy. Each one began the same way. We have heard the legends about humans. Sarah smiled as she set course for Earth. Humanity's greatest export had never been technology or resources. It had always been something much more valuable, the simple belief that no problem was too big to solve if you were willing to try hard enough. The legend was no longer just a rumor. It was a promise.